A little over a year now, my high school let out for spring break. Nothing out of the ordinary, except that a lot of uncertainty hung over this spring break. COVID-19 had started to spread in the US, and rumored that we'd be moving to online schooling had started to circulate. Spring break passed, and sure enough, we moved to online schooling. It was an unfortunate way to end my senior year, but at least I had something to entertain me after I finished all my schoolwork for the week. Video games. I had plenty of video games to choose from, but with buying the Yogscast Jingle Jam 2019 Humble Bundle, the free weekly games on the Epic Game Store, games that were being given away on Steam and GOG, and plenty of other games I had bought or been gifted on PC or Switch. I thought I could get through my ever-growing backlog, but I was wrong. It had started simple enough. I was sorting through what games I really wanted to play, and which ones I didn't. At the time, I was also the president of a club that would host game tournaments at the high school for charity. I had talked with some of the members, and I was going to start live streaming some of my game library as a club event since we couldn't meet in person anymore. At first, it started off well. I got through a few games, live streamed a couple of times until interest had died out, and started to weed out some more games in my backlog I didn't think I'd be interested in. I could go ahead and finish in about 2 to 3 hours as a short break from the longer games I had been playing. Then school ended. I had graduation, was starting to prepare for my first semester of college in the fall. All was going well, but then I started to get a little bored of doing nothing with video games. I couldn't go out to see friends or meet for Dungeons and Dragons, but I was able to start making a dent in my YouTube and anime backlog. I started alternating between gaming, watching anime, or YouTube. College started, and I would start to keep playing the same few games over and over while my backlog would grow. Battlefield 1 and Hearts of Iron 4 seemed to be the two games I would always fall back on to play, and even then, I knew I was just playing them because I didn't want to get through my backlog. My interest in those games slowly waned as well until my birthday and Christmas, where I had gotten more games to add to the backlog, but since they were new, I played them immediately. Now, several months later, I'm back in the same situation that many people are also suffering from right now: burnout. This past year especially has burned people out a lot on all kinds of different entertainment. TV shows, movies, video games, anime, music, pretty much anything people have done to entertain themselves during the pandemic. The obvious reasons are an excess of free time and excess of content to consume. I'm sure everyone has at some point found themselves with a giant backlog of something and you just don't feel like getting through it. Instead, either do whatever's newest, whatever you keep going back to, or just do nothing at all. At this point, I've talked enough about burnout in general to shift towards talking about my situation, which is like many others, and how I plan to deal with my personal burnout. This video is not meant to be about what burnout is and how to cure it, but my personal experiences with burnout, especially over the past year. I think it would be easier to explain and relate to my personal experience with burnout. I'm not alone in this situation. I'm going to mainly be discussing video game burnout and the lack of motivation to play through an ever-growing backlog. I will briefly touch on burnout with YouTube, memes, and possibly a few other forms of entertainment. Most of my burnout has stemmed from the lack of motivation to play video games, as well as the stress brought on by school, so before I go off on a tangent and continue to repeat myself, let's begin. To start, I want to talk about how video game burnout, especially my situation, is a very vicious cycle that continues to repeat itself. It starts by getting a new console, maybe a Steam sale or holiday passes. Maybe you start emulating some older games. Perhaps you find a bunch of free games being given away, or you buy a bundle of some kind. Either way, your backlog grows, and you are in the same situation that I have found myself in. Unfortunately, in my situation, all of those things hit within about the span of 6 months. I was getting the weekly and daily free Epic games during December. A few months before and after, the Steam Winter and Lunar New Year sale hit. I had been gifted several games for my Switch and other consoles over the holidays. I had started emulating using the SNES Classic. I built a new PC to replace my old one, and I bought a Humble Bundle the year prior and was still trying to get through it. I had increased my game library by quite a lot, and was struggling to get through the games I had because I either didn't find them interesting or was hyper-focused on the ones I had actually paid money for. In addition, I had also became obsessed with hoping for ports, remakes, releases, or sequels of games that I had really wanted and had been rumored to have been coming for a while. So I did not want to buy or get through my old library because I did not want to quit playing a game in the middle of a new release. This probably sounds familiar to a lot of people, except maybe not quite to the extreme level that I experienced. Normally, a person would buy a game, play it, and then either buy another, replay it, or replay another game they owned. When I was younger, I had less access to games, as well as stricter rules on how long and how often I could play games, and a lot more childish enthusiasm to beat a game as fast as I could. Obviously, a lot changes as you grow up. While I still love video games, I found myself in this cycle more often than not, mainly because of how the gaming industry has changed as a whole, and how I have more access to games as an adult. While most of the problem is my own, the gaming industry has perpetuated this buildup in backlogs for a lot of different players. More and more games are going free to play either from the beginning or years down the road. More games are focusing on multiplayer and replay value, so you spend more time playing only a couple games. There are more sales, bundles, giveaways, game sharing systems. Prices for a game could be anywhere from $5 to $60, and both be an extremely unique experience. The question then becomes, how do you break out of this cycle? Realistically, you probably can't break free from it because that would probably require you not to buy any more games, quit playing games, since the cycle is just obtaining a new game, playing it, and repeat, but at different extremes based on an individual situation. The easiest way I could think of to deal with this issue is to take breaks, prioritize games you really want to play, and cut back on the number of games you obtain at once. All this seems easy to do, like it'd just be common sense. If you have too much to do, prioritize the most important things or try to reduce the load somehow. All easy in theory, but the problem is not the plan itself, but the motivation to carry out said plan. Motivation is the biggest obstacle that needs to be dealt with. Since cutting to gain games and choosing what you really want to play is easy, but getting that motivation to play something new and not put a couple dozen hours in your favorite multiplayer game or go down YouTube rabbit holes is a lot more difficult than it seems. Motivation is strongest when you buy a brand new game, especially one that you've been excited about. It always is for me, even when I don't keep up with the hype as much as I used to. And motivation is the weakest when you get a game for free, or several at the same time, and it just sits around in your backlog for months, maybe years. I'm more inclined to play whatever the newest game is, as opposed to that game I got in the giveaway 2 months ago. How to fix this lack of motivation? In my situation, I've tried to have friends play them with me, whether with co-op, little brother multiplayer, or just playing a single-player game together over stream. That solution hasn't helped me as much, but it has helped several of my friends with the same problem. The solution I'm leaning more towards is YouTube. I've always been fascinated with Let's Plays and game reviews. Making a video or even streaming is a way to get through a game library. Streaming and Let's Plays require the least time to produce and can get through the backlog faster, and reviews would require time and effort, as well as a game you're interested in, to produce. That's also why I'm making this video. I want to experiment with this video and see what kind of response I get before I dive into the world of Let's Plays, game reviews, and streaming. Most likely, regardless of response, I will go ahead and begin recording some games and making reviews or video essays because it's something I've always wanted to do. I just never thought it would be the solution to my gaming backlog. I know I've only talked about 2 different solutions to the problem, but as I stated before, this video is more to talk about my situation. I've walked a thin line this whole video between just talking about video game burnout in general and my specific circumstances. No doubt, my situation is very similar to many others out there, and the 2 solutions I discuss can apply to anyone. They're the ones I think apply to me the best. Now, what to do once I've regained my motivation to play games and made a sizable dent in my backlog? The next step is to fight off the effects of the cycle. I, and anyone who plays games or consumes really any entertainment daily, will never be free from the cycle I've mentioned before, but its effects can be lessened. Just the act of playing a game, buying a new one when you're done means you'll never be free from the cycle, but buying or obtaining less games and playing them through all the way can help lessen the cycle's effects. Finishing a game can also help. I've left too many games unfinished and don't feel the motivation to play new ones since I want to finish the other games, but never get around to doing it. The motivation to play a new game usually overpowers the want to finish a game that I might be getting bored with or may not be very far in. The guilt of leaving a brand new game to sit while you finish one you've had for a bit can be enough to keep you from finishing games, making your backlog become a mix of games that have been left unfinished and ones that have never been, might never be, played. Despite how contradictory it sounds, an excess of free time is also a detriment. You'd think that having a ton of free time would allow you more time to get through a backlog, and in theory, yes, it would. Unless you find a game that completely absorbs all your time and you become hyper-focused, you're going to go back and play the same multiplayer game you probably return to when you're bored. I do the same thing. Or I just do nothing because I lack the motivation to play or finish a game because I have so many games to play or finish that I don't know where to start. The pandemic has given a lot of people a lot of free time. So at the beginning, like many people, I went all in and started going through games. Then slowly, I lost the motivation to play games in my backlog. I was used to only playing games for a few hours a day after school and really only having long game sessions over a break, not having the extended periods of time I did during online school. The excess of free time, ever-growing backlog, and lack of motivation caused by other factors, such as online schooling or the pandemic, has all added up to cause the current burnout I and many others are experiencing now. My burnout has not just been with video games, but also YouTube and TV. All of it for the same or similar reasons: lack of motivation, lack of interest in newer content, excess of free time, and having a backlog of new and old content to consume. Entertainment has become increasingly important to me and everyone else this past year, but inevitably, consuming so much entertainment has caused burnout to become common. Soon, I'm going to try the solutions I've discussed, and maybe I'll have some more videos to upload. At the very least, I'm going to try what I can to regain my motivation to play games and get down the backlog. In the future, I might make an update video on how it turns out, but I think making Let's Plays or game reviews might be enough evidence of how well these solutions work for me. If you have any comments on what I've said today, maybe your own solution to burnout, or whether you want to see more videos in the future, please let me know. I hope to make more videos in the future. See ya. Hey, it's kind of ironic, but when working on this video, I actually lost the motivation to work on it. Like at the very beginning when I was recording audio for it. So you can see why that's ironic. I'm working on a video about lacking motivation. I have a motivation to do that. I've got nothing else to say, but I just thought it was funny to mention that.